Pastor Edward Mack says his previous wife had 3 children. He loved them as his own. Then he realized 2 of them were not biologically his.
I never even slept with her. I got a lawsuit when I was young, and she basically just said, that's the money I'm gonna get, and she got it.
What's up, YouTube? Poor Man Podcast back with another video. Give me the HBO special. That's the Help Brother Out special. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Let's get right into the video.
It's happening to men across Michigan. They are being forced to pay child support as dads by default.
Doesn't matter if the men can prove the children are not theirs. Michigan law makes them pay anyway.
But tonight, 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell tells us that may be about to change.
Yeah.
Most people think you either have to...
Yo, just think about what they just said on national television. They just sat there and said, in Michigan, a man can prove that the child is not his with 100% certainty and still have to pay child support. And the woman just said, maybe that's going to change. Just maybe. Maybe if you can prove that you're not the father, you don't have to pay child support for a child that isn't yours. Just maybe. That's incredible that you could just say that on national television. And then guys are sitting here like, I thought that in the court of law, you're innocent until proven guilty. And if I prove my innocence, I'm not guilty. And the government's just like, hey, you're getting a little mouthy. Shut your mouth, pull down your pants, and let this happen. All right? You're getting mouthy. We don't care that you've proved your innocence. This is the court of law. We don't care that you proved your innocence. Shut your mouth and go to work.
To adopt or conceive a baby to become legally responsible for a child. Under Michigan law, that is simply not how it works.
I was the father by default.
These 4 men came to the 7 Action News studios to raise awareness. You could become dad by default. There are a couple ways it happens. Pastor Edward Mack says his previous wife had 3 children. He loved them as his own. Then he realized 2 of them were not biologically his.
He must have been so heartbroken.
Damn, it was a hurting thing. I don't even really want to talk about it because it brings tears to my eyes. Sorry for getting teary-eyed.
Pastor Mack says the betrayal led to divorce. He was shocked when the judge told him because he was married, he became dad by default. He had to pay support for another man's children.
Let her pay for him. Let her get the man she laid down with to pay for him. He goes free.
I never even slept with her. I got a lawsuit when I was young, and she basically just said, that's the money I'm going to get, and she got it.
Reginald Whitlow, Anthony Sims, and Carnell Alexander have similar stories. They say women named them out of nowhere. In 2014, 7 Action News told Carnell's story and found the mother. She said she was told in order to get welfare benefits, she needed to name a father. She knew he wasn't the dad, but wrote down his name anyway.
Everything is my fault that I put him through.
Do you think that he should have to pay this money?
No, he shouldn't have to pay it at all.
Then these men missed paternity.
Yo, they just basically said, bro, look, here's the thing. If you're a man and these aren't your children, you still have to pay. And here's how it happens. It only happens 1 or 2 ways. The first one is if you get married to a woman and she cheats on you, you have to take care of that man's children. And the other way is if a woman commits paternity fraud. And then they have a segment where the woman admits to committing paternity fraud. And here's the thing, like, people will complain about the patriarchy and then accept the money. Like, you can't be a feminist and believe in equality if you like alimony, if you accept alimony. That doesn't make any sense. You can't be a feminist and accept equality and say that there's the patriarchy if you're sitting here soaking up child support from a man that you know isn't the father because the government is forcing him to do so. Like, if there's such a patriarchy, why are there so many more men at the bottom than there are women? Like, let's just be completely honest. When we look at job equality, we're only looking up. We're only looking up. We're looking at these CEO positions. We're looking at these very luxurious positions that are dominated by a very small percentage of men. You don't look down and look at all the guys that are mining coal getting black lung, right? Like, you don't see any movements of women complaining about not mining enough coal. You just don't see that. It's insane to me. And so we're talking about the patriarchy, and men have built these structures strictly for the benefit of men. And it just doesn't make any sense that we would have things like family court that are just so obviously sexist if there's such a patriarchy that only exists for the betterment of men. Like, that makes no sense to me.
Hearings because they were either sick or did not receive notice. Carnell had proof. He was in prison when a process server claimed he was served at a house in Highland Park. When they didn't show up at court, a judge ruled them dads by default.
Oh my
they
gosh.
then missed their chance to challenge it with DNA evidence by the court deadline because they couldn't find the women and children.
They wouldn't give me her address because it was confidential.
These men all eventually got DNA tests backing their stories. Too late.
Oftentimes it doesn't make a difference.
Representative Jim Runstead says those DNA tests should make a difference. The Republican from White Lake says he heard the story of Carnell Alexander on 7 Action News and decided to take action. He says this year he hopes to pass legislation that would protect men from being forced to pay for another man's children. Plus, women and process servers who lie should face stiff legal consequences.
This was wrong. Deceiving and lying and obligating people who are not supposed to be obligated to pay bills is wrong.
These men don't just want the law changed to protect others. They want compensation.
I'm getting garnished. I'm getting thrown in jail. I'm getting felony charges.
You have taken our lives. Change that law.
Representative Runstead says he has written 5 draft bills that aim to prevent such fraud, protecting both men and children. He says he plans to introduce them within the next month.
Yeah, good luck.
Kim Russell, 7 Action News.
Good luck.
Now to at 10, News Channel 3 getting to the bottom of a burning question one Memphis man has been trying to answer for years. Why is Shelby County Juvenile Court forcing him to pay for a child that is not biologically his? What's even more unusual, he says the judges at Juvenile Court have an idea who the real father is.
Yet they're still demanding he pay up. Now he's turning to On Your Side investigator Stephanie Skurlock for help.
Talk show TV makes millions off the catchphrase, "You are not the father." But the reality in Memphis is just because you're not the daddy doesn't mean Shelby County Juvenile Court won't make you pay.
I was down there in handcuffs and chains.
Over the years, Edward Bowdery had his driver's license stripped and once even found himself in handcuffs over child support payments for a child that's not his.
I would hate to see somebody else go through the same thing. I've been going through this. I mean, headaches.
Man,
this mound of paper.
And that's what I'm saying, right? Like these people will say, okay, well, this is just the way it is, and it's to protect children. Right? But yet these same people will lock a man up, which we know. They'll lock the father up, which we know is the most important component to a child's life. We know that having a father in a child's life is the most important component. And if these institutions are truly for the betterment of children, why would you lock a father up for not being able to make payments? Like in this case, he's not the father. He's proven that he's not the father, and he's still getting locked up. But what I'm saying is, if I'm the biological father, why would you ever, if it's for the betterment of the children, lock me up because I can't make payments? And the truth of the matter is, and nobody wants to say this, the truth of the matter is the state gets 66% of every dollar collected from child support. So they are incentivized to make men pay child support. And then we go, well, why do these laws still exist where women can just write down a random name and a man is responsible for paying child support for 18 years, which is on average $250,000 to raise a child from 0 to 18 in America, right? Like, why does this happen? And it's because the state gets paid for it. They're all in bed. There's too many hands being moist, right? There's too many people getting money from these institutions for them to ever disappear. So somebody's going to pay that child support. We don't even care if it's the father. We're going to make somebody pay it. And this is what I talk about when I talk about men just being taken advantage of. Like, let's just be completely honest. Everybody can agree that if you're not the father of a child, you shouldn't have to pay child support on it. But nobody's talking about this. This stuff still exists in 2021, and that's absolutely ridiculous to me.
Paperwork shows a juvenile court judge ordered him to pay child support even before the birth.
I didn't do a voluntary acknowledgement. I didn't sign the birth certificate. All I knew is we legitimated the child in your name.
Bowdery asked several judges during several hearings for a DNA test, but no judge ordered one.
I said, how did I even get put on child support? And I never said this was my child. And they said, again, this is not what we're here for.
In 2009, he took the child himself to get a DNA test and found the son he'd supported for years was not biologically his. He took the documentation to court. The judge wouldn't accept it, but ordered a new DNA test done that showed the same results. Probability of paternity, 0%.
They never did do what they were originally supposed to do, which was give me the opportunity to take a DNA test. I was just a voice not being heard, so I guess I needed a choir.
Juvenile court magistrate Nancy Kessler agreed in October to allow Bowdery to disestablish paternity, but only after, he says, she admonished him for taking it this far.
The judge stated that, well, I find it very distasteful that you're bastardizing a child.
The judge stopped the child.
Oh my God. Now that's going to drive me up the wall. And this is what I'm talking about. If we're going to do the equality thing, which I am for, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it, right? If we're going to do the equality thing, well, I actually like traditional families. I'm more of a guy makes the money, woman takes care of the children kind of guy. But if we're going to do the equality thing, right, where we really push for this, we got to keep the accountability the same way. And the accountability is not there for women. It's just not. If a man is in a position where he's sitting there looking a judge in the eye, proving that he's not the father of a child, and a judge can sit there and look at him and say, you're wrong for not wanting to take care of a child that is not yours and that you have proven is not yours. You're wrong. He's the one that's bastardizing the child. No, the woman didn't bastardize the child when she went out and slept with so many men that she doesn't even know who the baby father is. No, she's not accountable there. That's not her responsibility. You have to pay child support for a child that is not yours, and you're wrong if you don't do it. That's absolutely insane to me. That really rubs me the wrong way that we're trying to do this equality thing and everybody's throwing it in men's faces, but then when it comes to this equal accountability thing, we just act like women don't have any control over their bodies and who they sleep with. It's absolutely ridiculous to me. Like, I just don't get that. Let's keep going.
Support going forward, but Bowdery still has to pay $460 a month to the mother in back pay. He doesn't believe he should have to pay anything. In fact, he believes someone owes him money, the $30,000 he's already paid. Administrators at juvenile court denied our request for an interview on this case, saying it's not appropriate to comment about rulings. What are the chances of him getting his money back?
It is very unusual and very infrequent.
Family lawyer Miles Mason says in a similar case, the Tennessee Supreme Court ruled a man in Middle Tennessee could sue his ex-wife for fraud. He got a $100,000 judgment.
As he
should.
should.
Was a very large judgment awarded against the mother, but I doubt it would be likely that they would be able to collect in most cases.
Because if we're just completely honest, and that's the end of the video, if we're just completely honest, single mothers are the poorest demographic in America, right? So even if you were to sue for all that money that you may have paid for a child that isn't yours, you're not going to get it back, and the court isn't really going to enforce it. They don't care. They say these institutions are for the betterment of children, but they'll lock up the most important component to a child's life, which is the father, if he isn't paying that child support that they collect 66% of, whatever. Nothing to see here, people. Anytime you want to look at corruption in these situations, just follow the money. Who's making money? Who's getting a little coin, right? Whose pockets are getting greased? That's where the corruption always lies. And it's just so sad to see so many dudes are just getting taken advantage of blatantly, openly in family court, and nobody even says anything about it. It's crazy that there are so many children that will be out there that won't know their biological father. They will be denied the right to know their biological father because their mother wants a check. Because their mother knows that their biological father is not doing anything with his life and he ain't going to pay the child support. So let me just go and put that on a nice guy. Let me go and put that on a guy who's willing to do it. Let me go put that on a guy who has the resources to do it. That's absolutely ridiculous to me. And there's no accountability in that. There's no equality in that. There's no empowerment in that. It's just ridiculous to me. Till next time.
For my mom and girls, just know you safe. Every time I had to eat, I really put my life up on the plate. Sorry, mama made a conscious decision to live this way. Ticking time bomb, I was living like a renegade. Louis Farrakhan, the menace in his genesis.